Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Men's Physique Show. We have an incredible interview coming to you. We have interpreter extraordinaire himself, Mateus Sanchez Teixeira. What's up, brother?
What's up,
Good to see you, man.
Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for saying my full name.
Yeah, for sure. Our pleasure.
Yeah,
and
a pleasure.
Especially with a name like Aleem, I got to say your full name, man. I got to show some love when you've got a name.
Thank you for that.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have super special guest today, our boy, hailing out of Brazil, Dilson Espindola, aka Jusum, aka the Brazilian Ryan Terry. Let's go.
Let's go this time.
Let's go.
And I am fortunate and humbly blessed to have two incredible hosts with me. You know him, hailing out of Australia, the man from across the pond, our boy, Phil Naselli, Avon, the Australian voice of Men's Physique. Let's go.
Let's go, Phil.
And I got my boy, that man who's been around for well over 5 years, being the heartbeat of Men's Physique, bringing the news to you, even when you didn't want to hear it, still bringing it, always bringing the truth, giving you that good vibe. Our boy McGravy, Hart McGrath, let's go.
Let's go, Hart.
Your boy, the Gaffer, Aleem Bolton, IBB Pro, Men's Physique. Happy to be here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get right into it. Dilson, thank you, brother, for being on our show, man. We have talked you up. We have done reels on you. Man, your body, your physique looks incredible. We love your work ethic. How you doing, brother? How's it going?
Hi, everybody. My name is Justus Espindola. I am from Brazil, and I'm very happy to be here with you guys. Thanks for the opportunity and live with many top athletes and heavy B. Yesterday, Ryan Terry, and today, Brazilian Ryan Terry generic.
Hey,
And
in no time,
we-
in no time, brother, you're gonna have your own nickname on this show. I think we're at some point we're gonna get away from the Brazilian Ryan Terry, but man, let me get right into my first question because I mean it's just obvious, and you kind of hit it right on the head. How do you like the comparisons to Ryan Terry? Because you guys have a similar physique, similar lat spread, similar small waist, the abs. What do you think about being compared to Ryan Terry?
O que você acha da comparação com o Terry? Tipo, das partes do corpo que são similares entre você e ele? Aquela respostinha do Ryan Terry.
See? About this comparison and with Ryan Terry, I had no idea about it. Some people compare is in Brazil, but there was this hype of it after my first pro show, and I went to be as Dilson and woke up is Ryan Terry. I thought, what? But not just nationality, internationality too. And I believe this is good thing to be compared with the best in the road. I am from
Mhm.
223 in the Arnold Classic Madrid in the champion. And since I'm following him up close, so with this, I dream lead me sleeping.
I love it, man. Thanks for that. Yeah, I mean, being compared to the top guy in the world three years in a row is not a bad problem to have at all. But you are carving out your own space. Hey, and just like we were saying, if you want to switch into talking Portuguese and Sanchez, you do the interpretation, that's okay too, because we also want to feel that fluidity and that
Emotion.
Authentic voice of Dilson. So we're excited, man. We're looking forward to it. So any which way he wants to answer. His English is really good, by the way.
Pode falar em
Your
português.
English is great, brother. Yeah, really good.
Ele falou que teu inglês tá ótimo, mas se quiser pode responder em português pra pegar aquilo que a gente conversou ontem, da sua emoção na resposta, tá ligado?
Okay.
Yeah.
My English.
No, your English is really, really good, man. I love it. I mean, you've been working with Sanchez. I'm not sure how long you've been working with Sanchez for, but Sanchez, you've
We
done
have
a really,
just started.
Oh, really? I was going to say you've done such a great job
Wow.
in such a short period of time, man. He's absolutely killing it.
Wow.
But I want to ask you, I mean, I want to kind of take it back, Dilson, to when it all first started for you. I mean, at the moment, you know, we've heard your name being spoken about left, right, and center. I mean, after your first pro season was last year, and you did some incredible stuff on the 2025 circuit, which we're going to get to in just a little bit. But I want to take it back to when you first started, man. What was it that got you into the gym? How long? Oh, and when was it? Sorry, and I should say, what made you start competing in the first place?
Gilson, ele falou que agora, beleza, teu nome tá lá em cima, acabou de começar pro show, agora todo mundo sabendo, mas ele quer saber do seu começo. Quando você começou, por que você começou, como você entrou na academia? Pode falar em português.
Vou falar em português, aí você traduz falando.
Isso.
Eu comecei a competir em 2011 na categoria Body Shape, que é uma categoria de sunga. E eu comecei naquela época, não tinha internet, né? Então, como não tinha internet, eu fazia o quê? Eu ia nas bancas de jornal e comprava uma revista de fisiculturismo. A primeira dieta que eu fiz foi do...
He's saying that he started in 2013 and he didn't have a lot of money, he didn't have internet connection, so he would go to those newspapers, little stores you have on the streets, you know, to buy... Gilson?
Então eu comprei uma revista, que a minha primeira dieta foi a dieta do Jay Cutler, onde eu comia 2 kg de frango por dia, eram 12 ovos de manhã com 10 pães e 8 ovos à noite, e 2 potes ou 3 potes de sorvete de 2 litros só de arroz.
Then he got a magazine from this place, and the first diet that he's got was Jay Cutler's diet, and he ate like 2 kilos of chicken a day, lots of eggs, and a whole pot of ice cream.
E aí eu comecei a competir, só que acabou que eu fiquei em segundo, eu tive o gosto, né, do fisiculturismo, e depois logo em seguida fiquei em quinto. E aquilo foi uma pancada grande para mim. Aí o presidente virou naquela época e falou: olha, tem uma categoria nova que tá vindo para cá pro Brasil, chamada Men's Physique, tenta se enquadrar nela. Aí eu comecei a me preparar e me enquadrei na categoria Men's Physique. E na categoria, quando eu estreiei aqui, a categoria estreou aqui, eu fui o primeiro campeão, eu fui campeão do estreante, fui campeão do Rio, fui o primeiro campeão brasileiro da categoria Men's Physique e o primeiro campeão sul-americano também da categoria Men's Physique.
Alright, so he started competing, and then in his first show, the president of the competition told him that there was a new category coming to Brazil, which is men's physique. And then on his first show, he won. And then after that, he got like in 5th place, if I remember correctly. And that was a shock for him, because from 2nd to 5th place, that's a shock for everybody, right? And then he started investing on this. Gilson?
Aí eu fui e comecei a ter o gosto. Eu ia pegar o meu Procard, mas não tinha campeonato aqui no Brasil. Então eu vivia meio apertado aqui no Brasil, não tinha condições de ficar viajando.
Got it. And then he started liking it. He started like having the taste of it, but he was broke at the time. He didn't have the money to travel around to go to competitions. And Gilson?
E assim, eu sempre no fisiculturismo, como aqui não era conhecido, eu nunca tive um treinador. Então a minha equipe era eu e meus amigos, que a gente era viciado em fisiculturismo, e acabou que a gente estudava bastante sobre dieta, um ficava sobre dieta, o outro ficava sobre o treino, então a gente fazia esse controle. Então eu fui campeão de tudo, sem ter um treinador, sem ter um nutricionista.
At the beginning, him and his friends, they didn't have a coach, so they were kind of like all positions in their working out life, right? One was a coach, the other was a diet expert, and with all that mixture, they learned everything by themselves, and he won everything else after without a coach, just by the experiences of like from himself and the other friends that he had with him.
Let's go.
Incredible.
Let's go, baby.
E no primeiro brasileiro, o Arnold Brasil, quando veio para cá, eu fui competir, eu ainda estava sem treinador, não tinha treinador, E eu fui pedir uma dica com um amigo meu, que o treinador dele me deu laxante, e acabou que deu ruim antes de subir no palco, me deu uma dor de barriga, que eu fiquei evacuando antes de subir no palco, um desespero. Meus gomos mudaram todo de direção e o que acontece? Acabou que no Arnold Classic, foi depois desse sul-americano que eu ganhei, foi o Arnold Classic que eu competi. E aí eu acabei ficando em quinto, mesmo com todos os problemas que eu tive, eu acabei ficando em quinto. E ali foi o grande marco para eu chegar e amar esse esporte.
He's saying that after he won the first South American show, he went to Arnold without a coach, and then he asked his friend for a help that he had a coach. His friend had a coach, and this guy, I don't know who that is, he gave him something, and then he made him like sick. He went to the bathroom, and he was just like evacuating, you know? And that changed a little bit of his physique on the competition. Of course, that's not a justification, but he got 5th place. And that's why that's when he was like, okay, I like this thing.
I love that, man. That's really, really cool.
Aí,
I love it. I love it. Dilson, thank you for sharing all that with me. Second of all, I'm honored to be sitting here with possibly, we can have this conversation in a little bit, maybe the new king of Brazil after what he did to Edvon, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But Dilson, I want to ask you a very simple question. When people say that you have the Olympia look, what do you think they're seeing in your physique?
Primeiro agradeceu, é uma honra estar aqui com vocês, com você, mas agora ele falou que quando a galera olha pra você e vê o shape do Men's Physique, o que você acha que a galera vê em você?
Então, a categoria Men's Physique, ela vive mudando muito, né? A categoria, a gente tem pose de frente, como tem pose de lado. E eu sempre tive essa comparação com o Ryan Terry. E para mim, o Ryan ganhando é uma coisa muito boa, porque a minha pose principal sempre foi a pose Superman. Então, eu sempre fiz essa pose. Então, era uma pose que era dominante no fisiculturismo antigamente, que era a pose frente, lado, costas. As pessoas foram virando um pouco mais, virando de lateral para afinar mais a cintura, voltando essa parte também, assim, para mim, essa pose do Superman, para mim, me ajudou bastante a alcançar o nível que as pessoas viram meu shape aqui no Brasil, tanto lá fora.
He said that a Men's Physique category is always changing. But since the beginning, he had a comparison with Ryan Terry, which is good for him because his favorite pose was like the Superman pose. And on Men's Physique category, they focus on front pose, side pose, and from like with time, they were changed like from like front pose to the side pose, which they made them focus on like making the waist a little bit thinner, you know, and that helped them like a lot.
Hey, Dilson, speaking of coaching, do you have are you coaching yourself solely right now? You just coach yourself?
Falando agora de treinador, você que é o treinador, que você tem treinador, como que funciona?
Não, agora eu tenho. Agora eu tenho o Thiago Carvas, que ele cuida dos meus treinos, e o Arthur Pereira, que cuida da minha dieta, né? Eu também tenho uma equipe de médico, que é o Sérgio, e também do meu treinador de pose, que é o Pajé, que é o mesmo treinador de pose do Ramondino.
All right. He said that now he has a coach. Now he has a coach, not just only the coach. He has also a guy that takes care of his diet. He has a team of doctors and also a pose guy to help him out with the poses, which is the same guy that helps Ramondino.
Oh, nice. Is that his coach also
for posing? Yes. That's what he said. Yeah, for posing.
Okay.
Yes.
Who's his coach? Who's his coach right now?
Qual que é o nome do
o
treinador mesmo?
Thiago Carvas.
Thiago Carvas.
E Arthur
It's the coach.
Pereira.
Arthur Pereira ele é o quê, Odilson?
O Arthur Pereira é o meu Nutri, também que me ajuda bastante, que é o mesmo do Guilherme.
Okay, so Thiago is the coach and Arthur Pereira is the nutritionist.
Okay. Nice. Go ahead, Phil.
How's the experience been with the coach? I mean, I know personally, like I've done shows without a coach, and then I've done shows with a coach, and the experience is completely different. I mean, having another set of eyes looking over you all the time, taking a lot of the guesswork out of it for you. How has his experience been now working with someone for not only the Arnold Classic in a couple of weeks' time, but for future shows in 2026?
Uhum. Então, uma coisa bem diferente você ter alguém ali o tempo todo com você, trabalhando, porque realmente eu estava meio desmotivado com o fisiculturismo e, na verdade, eu ia fazer o meu campeonato para me aposentar, porque eu passei por algumas dificuldades aqui, financeira, em São Paulo.
Deixa eu falar essa parte for him to have somebody like looking over his shoulders, like you said, at all times. And he just mentioned that at a certain moment, he was like desmotivated and he thought about like doing the last show to retire. And, okay, Gilson?
Então, tipo assim, foi bem difícil para mim aqui, porque eu estava realmente pensando em desistir, porque eu já fiz. A gente não tinha, às vezes, dinheiro para fazer a preparação. Então, eu tive que reduzir a proteína. Eu comia arroz e ovo e a gente reduzia a comida para a gente conseguir. A minha mulher foi trabalhar até comendo arroz para sobrar comida para mim. Esses apertos foram essencial para eu chegar e falar, poxa, eu quero estrear no profissional, porque sempre foi meu sonho. E aí que eu encontrei o Thiago Carvas, lá na Ironberg, onde eu treino, que é o maior centro de academia da América. E divisor para eu não...
He said that he thought about retiring, about giving up the sport because it was very difficult for him financially. At a certain moment, he didn't have money like to eat proper protein, so he reduced his protein to eggs and rice. And at a specific moment, his wife went to work for him so he could like work out, train, and focus on his plan, which was bodybuilding. And then when he saw that opportunity, he thought, okay, I'm good at this, and that's what I'm going to do. And that's when he went to a gym in Brazil. You guys probably know the name Ironberg CT, and that's where he met like his new coach.
Aí, pode falar? Aí eu encontrei o Thiago e falei, cara, você acha que eu tenho condições de pelo menos entrar no top 5 ali e bater de frente com os caras? Porque no meu primeiro campeonato, eu não quis escolher um campeonato qualquer, eu quis escolher um campeonato onde atletas olímpicos já subiram. Então tinha top 10 do Olímpia, tinha atletas top 15 do Olímpia, e era esse campeonato que eu queria ir. E eu acabei me preparando para esse, com a finalidade de chegar e competir e realmente falar, eu fiz a minha estreia no Pro, tenho um orgulho disso, e só que infelizmente não dá mais, porque eu não tenho condições de sustentar isso, porque a gente teve que zerar os cartões aqui para a gente conseguir ir viajar para competir. E só que chegando lá, aconteceu o que aconteceu, de eu ficar em segundo, ficando na frente de atletas que já foram para Olímpia, e como eu falei, eu tive uma repercussão muito grande aqui no Brasil, mas no outro dia, quando eu acordei, eu tive uma repercussão muito grande lá fora, em todos os países, falando do meu shape, comparação com o Ryan Terry e tudo mais, que foi aí que foi o divisor da minha mente também, de falar, caramba, eu tenho condições de ir além. E aí começou a entrar os patrocínios, a New Million, que me apoia bastante e me deu força para ir para Fortaleza também, competir agora mais e mais e mais.
And when he went to the gym, when he met his coach, he had the dream of starting pro, right? And then he asked his coach, do you think I can do this? Do you think I have conditions to do this? And his coach said yes. And then he made the prep for the competition that he wanted to go in, but he didn't want to go to just any competition, to any tournament. He wanted to go where like Olympian athletes have been, and that's what he did. And when he went there, of course, he used like all of his credit cards, all of his cards. got himself broke again. And then he went to that place and he got second place. And then he thought like, okay, I can do this. You know, I have condition. And that's where he started to like believe in that dream again. And after that,
Wow.
sponsors came to him, like his shirt, New Miller. And I mean, life began start to be like a little bit easier at that moment, right? Because from broke to no dream, to motivated to, okay, now I got sponsors coming to me. Now I got second place. I can do this. I know I can do this. And that's his story like in this scenario.
Wow, that's fire. That's awesome, man. Dilson, one of the beautiful things, first of all, thank you for sharing that with us. And you've also shared with us your journey from being overweight and being more obese to really bringing in your physique and taking your physique serious. What did you get up into in terms of weight? How big did you get at your heaviest? And what was your diet plan to change that? Was it the Jay Cutler diet, or what did you do to change and trim down so much and become more of a men's physique criteria looking athlete?
Ele falou que você compartilhou com ele a sua experiência de bem gordo, quase obeso, certo? E aí ele perguntou o que fez mudar isso. Por exemplo, o seu plano de dieta foi a dieta do Jay Cutler. O que você fez para mudar isso na sua dieta? Ao ponto de encaixar na categoria do men's physique.
Calma aí, fala de novo que passou uma moto. Então, aquela foto ali que eu estava muito acima do peso foi em questão meio que um relaxamento por conta do meu pai. Em 2023, eu peguei o meu Procard. Falo assim, em 2023, 4 dias antes do meu campeonato, eu acabei recebendo a ligação, né, do meu irmão, que ele falou que o meu pai tinha falecido. E o meu pai era o meu herói, sim. E meu pai era meu herói. E 4 dias antes do campeonato, ele falou, Dilson, o pai se foi. E ali eu fiquei sem chão, ali eu fiquei muito mal. Só que eu lembrava da última conversa que eu tive com ele no hospital, que ele teve um AVC, mas ele já estava bem, então não esperava que ele ia falecer. A última conversa que eu tive com ele no hospital foi, ele virou para mim e ele falou, filho, traz o troféu para mim, porque meu pai ele sempre me acompanhou e sempre me guiou, sempre me deu força para competir. Quer falar?
He said that was a result of him losing his dad. But before he lost his dad, he said that his dad always supported him. He was always with him. And 4 days before the show, his dad, he was sick already in the hospital, but he thought like, okay, he got a little bit better. Nothing's going to happen to him. But his dad told him like, bring the trophy home. And that was his focus at the moment. And now he's going to continue. Wilson?
Quando ele falou comigo, a primeira coisa que eu fiz foi ouvir meu pai falando, filho, traz o troféu para mim. E eu virei para minha mulher, eu falei, amor, quanto tempo eu tenho até a viagem, né, pro Rio de Janeiro, porque são 7 horas, 6 a 7 horas de viagem, Rio, São Paulo. E ela falou, você tem 2 horas. Eu falei, então, por favor, faz as minhas marmitas, que eu tô indo treinar. Então eu fui treinar, voltei, peguei minhas marmitas, peguei o ônibus, fui pro Rio de Janeiro, 7 horas, e chegando lá, eu fiz o meu cardio, eu dormi, acordei, eu fiz as minhas marmitas, fiz o meu cardio, fiz o meu treino, eu enterrei meu pai, eu voltei para cá, para São Paulo, eu busquei minha mulher e a gente foi direto pro campeonato. E lá, voltando um pouco antes, no cemitério, eu tinha que ficar pensando, eu não posso me estressar, eu não posso ficar porque senão eu vou estragar o meu shape. Eu sei que eu perdi meu herói, mas eu não estava ali querendo competir só por mim. Eu tinha ele, que ele era a razão de eu conseguir competir. E eu virei e eu falei, não, vou ser forte por ele, como ele sempre foi por mim. E aí eu voltei, né, e tal, busquei a minha mulher, a gente foi pro campeonato e a gente acabou conquistando o tão sonhado Procard, que eu lutei tanto tempo, que ele lutou tanto tempo do meu lado para tentar ver essa conquista e com certeza ele tava lá de cima lá, vendo. Aí eu vou te explicar o porquê eu fiquei daquele shape lá. Pode falar.
All right. So he said that 4 days before his trying to get the pro card, he received a call from his brother saying like, okay, dad passed away. And in that
Wow.
moment, yeah. And he was like just almost there to go on stage. So he did the math with his wife. Like, okay, how many hours is like from here to my hometown? Because he's not from here. He's not from São Paulo. And then they did the math. And then he told his wife, like, okay, prepare my meals, make my meals for me. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to work out. And then he went to his hometown after this. He buried his dad. After that, he did his cardio. He did all the workout training. And then after that, he came back to the city and went to the tournament. But as we know, bodybuilding isn't that easy. He can't have like that much stress. So back in the cemetery, he said that he thought like, okay, I cannot be stressed like in this moment because I got to go up there, not just for him, not just him saying like, not just for himself, but for my father too. It's his dream too. He told me to do this.
Yeah.
And then he went back to the tournament, got his dream and also his dad's getting the pro card, right? And now he's going to explain why he went to like a so heavyweight.
Wow.
E aí,
I'm gonna grab my charger.
eu acabei que eu fiquei meio mal durante um tempinho, porque eu fiquei cuidando da minha mãe, assim, eu sou longe da minha mãe, né? Minha mãe mora no Rio, eu em São Paulo, mas ver a minha mãe do estado que ela ficou, eu acabei me entregando um pouco, né? Eu acabei me entregando e, tipo assim, e aí eu acabei que eu descontei um pouco na comida, que eu cheguei num ponto que eu cheguei a 115, 116 quilos e eu falei, não, tá errado, eu sou um atleta profissional agora e vamos focar. E aí eu comecei a focar para tentar competir nesse campeonato de Curitiba e foi aí que eu conheci o Thiago. Então, mais ou menos aquele meu peso lá, aquela minha foto que eu estava muito acima do peso, foi mais uma questão de uma leve depressão, né? Não chegou a ser uma depressão, mas foi uma leve depressão que eu acabei me entregando. Mas graças a Deus, Deus e meu pai me deu forças e hoje eu tô aqui graças a eles. E a minha mãe também.
And he said that when he got his pro card, he said that his dad was watching over him from up there. And after the competition, he was like devastated after the loss of his father. And he was taking care of his mom and he kind of just let himself go. You know, he took it on food and then he got up to 115 kilos. And to the certain moment, he realized like, okay, this is not right. This is wrong. I got to overcome this. And that's when he started to focus again and work hard again. And he went to a competition in Curitiba, which is a city in Brazil. And that's where he met his coach.
So he had won his pro card, went back, and was it the depression and taking it so strongly that made him just start eating a lot? That's what it was?
Yeah. He didn't use the exact words of depression. He kind of tried to like, it's not a depression. Depression's his words is like kind of like a depression. And you know, when you lose somebody and you're just
very sad, sorrow.
Not here, you know, you're just like out of your mind. And so we can't tell it's a depression or not, but probably it is, right?
Wow. What a story, man. What a story. And you said he got up to 115 kilos?
Yes, kilos. Yeah, I don't know how much that is in pounds.
What's the conversion on that, boys? Do you know?
I know
Around
100.
240, 245.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And he, for a stage, what does his stage weight need to be?
Gilson, qual que é o seu peso de palco?
Peso de palco 82, 83, mas com roupa. Tipo, roupa,
82,
calça
83 kilos with clothes. So it's less like a 20 kilos difference.
Wow. Impressive. The diet is impressive. Wow.
Yeah. For a normal person, that's
Man,
not
there
a
was-
lot, but for a bodybuilder, that's
Huge. That there was so much to take in there. Like, Dilson, thank you so much for like really opening up about your story because, you know, a lot of people don't understand what is required to pursue a career in bodybuilding. Like Dilson was saying that he was maxing out credit cards and he was, living rough to kind of find his feet in the sport and be able to pursue a dream. A lot of people, when they're met with obstacles like this, a lot of people will just say, you know what, this isn't for me. And they throw it all to the side. So I'm really, really glad that Dilson was able to kind of overcome those obstacles and still pursue this career. Like, I mean, I know you said, at the end of 2025 or maybe in 2024, he was close to giving it all up and throwing it all away. And imagine what could have happened if he did. Like, no one around the world would know of this great athlete. We wouldn't be talking to you today. So really, really happy to hear that you did push through with everything. One thing that really stood out to me was how highly you spoke of your dad and, how much of an impact he did make in your life. I mean, I know you said, you rushed to the hospital before a show and sadly he did pass away, close to one of your shows. But what I want to know is how much of an impact did your dad make to your life and building your character, up until this point?
Ele falou que entende todos os sacrifícios que um bodybuilder passa, de tudo que você tem que, entre aspas, desistir para estar lá e vendo todas as suas dificuldades. E aí ele foi para a pergunta você passou por aquele processo de lá ver seu pai perto de uma competição sua, e ele quer saber qual que é o impacto do seu pai na sua vida, não só na academia, mas em você, no seu caráter, em você como um todo. Você, Dilson.
Uhum. Meu pai é tudo pra mim, né? Meu pai e minha mãe, é a minha família, né? Eu sou uma pessoa muito família com meu pai e minha mãe, com a minha mulher. Eu sempre fui muito, muito família. E isso eu levo porque o meu pai sempre me ensinou a ser uma pessoa correta e uma pessoa família. Meu pai, ele era nordestino, né? Uma região mais apertada aqui no Brasil. Ele veio pro Rio de Janeiro, ele veio sem dinheiro nenhum para salvar o meu avô. Então, tipo, ele criou 3 filhos aqui no Brasil, num lugar que se você deixar os filhos soltos, o seu filho pode acabar entrando para um lugar errado, como várias pessoas tentaram me levar para um lugar errado. Só que o ensinamento que ele sempre deu para nós 3 foi sempre ser uma pessoa justa, uma pessoa boa, um ser humano bom, que sempre, mesmo com as suas dificuldades, você tentar ajudar o próximo. Então, ele sempre virou e ele sempre ensinou a gente a ser uma pessoa família, um ser humano melhor, porque se você não for uma pessoa família, você não consegue ser uma pessoa melhor. Então, o meu pai, ele sempre teve esse ensinamento comigo e ele era um cara que sempre me apoiava no fisiculturismo, que é muito difícil uma pessoa chegar e te apoiar como ele apoiava. Meu pai, ele já tinha idade e mesmo assim ele ficava acordado de madrugada, esperando e vendo os campeonatos. E sempre, antigamente, não tinha internet, não tinha esse negócio, então ele não assistia os vídeos. Ele esperava eu chegar, às vezes eu chegava de madrugada e ele chegava e ele falava, e aí? Aí eu falei, poxa, pai, não deu. Aí ele, poxa, aí eu, tô brincando aqui, aí eu mostrava o troféu para ele. Então, eu tenho certeza que ele sentia muito orgulho de mim. Ele sente orgulho de mim pelo filho que eu sou, que eu nunca dei trabalho pro meu pai, eu sempre liguei para ele, eu sempre dei benção para ele, eu sempre falei eu te amo pro meu pai. E esse é o meu pai. Meu pai é aquela pessoa boa, aquela pessoa que tem um coração enorme. E se eu for 10% do que o meu pai foi, eu já sou muito feliz.
Oh man, all right. Okay, first of all, his dad is not from like this part of Brazil. His dad is from like the northeast part of Brazil. And he said that his dad came to Rio de Janeiro to save his granddad. And then in that place, he went to that place with no money at all. And he raised 3 children, him and his 2 siblings. And his teachings to him were like, be good, be fair, and always help out the others, like help the next person. And that's his dad. Yes. And his family.
Wow.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
Wow.
He said that his dad is his everything. He said he never gave problems to like his dad. He never gave a hard time to his dad, as we know that children and teenagers sometimes do it, And he said that sometimes he would go home very late after a competition. His dad was waiting for him because in that moment there wasn't like internet, there wasn't like videos and anything else. So the only way for you to know and what happened is for you to talk to the person, right? And his dad would wait until late at night. Gilson would go home and try to surprise his dad. Like his dad would ask, like, "Hey, how was it?" And then he would say, like, "It wasn't this time." And then his dad was like, "Oh man." And then no, it's a joke. Here's a trophy, something like this, because his dad. Yeah, we know how difficult it is for family, people around us to support in the thing that we love and want to do, right? Especially bodybuilding, which is a sport that you have to sacrifice a lot. But his dad, no, his dad did it for him. His dad supported him and it was there with him at all moments. And not just him, but also his mom. He said that his family, his mom and his dad taught him how to be like a family person. Him, his wife, and his dad in the past, and now his mom too. They were just like family people, the opposite of most of the people that we see around.
Yeah. I love that, man. I love that because, I mean, just hearing what you said about, Dilson surprising his dad. I mean, with social media, it can be a blessing and a curse. I feel like a lot of people nowadays have lost that social interaction where they're able to just meet up with someone and talk to them face to face, as opposed to, getting them the news delivered, via a phone or an iPad or something like that. So I love that, man. I love the connection and the relationship that Dilson had with his dad. You can tell, he's crafted and he's sculpted Dilson to such an incredible individual. I want to take it now to 2025, November. There was a showdown between Dilson and Edvan at the muscle contest, the Juiz de Costa competition, where where the competition was between the two big names, Dilson. And the first thing that Dilson did after beating Edvan was he dropped to his knees with the trophy pointed straight to the sky. What did that moment feel like when he did have that historic moment over Edvan? You could tell that he obviously was paying respects to his dad based on the story that you've told me, Dilson. But how was that moment when it happened?
Em novembro de 2025, você competiu contra o Edvan em Juiz de Fora, certo? E ele falou que depois que você ganhou dele, você caiu de joelhos com seu troféu e olhou pro céu. O que foi aquele sentimento? O que você sentiu? O que você pensou?
Pô, vou subir no palco, eu sempre peço a Deus, né, pra ir na frente. Só que agora eu tenho mais uma pessoa, né? E eu falo sempre com meu pai, eu falo, pai, você tá aí mais perto agora de Deus, então dá aquela forcinha pra mim, que eu sei que você consegue dar. Então, sempre antes de subir, eu sempre falo com Deus, em primeiro lugar, e o meu pai, eu sempre falo com ele, para ele me guiar, para ele me ajudar a eu ficar calmo e eu chegar lá no palco e conseguir dar o meu melhor. Então, quando eu ganhei ali, eu não ganhei por mim, eu ganhei para ele, totalmente para ele, porque quando eu virei para ele e eu falei que eu ia levar o troféu para ele, então todas as vezes que eu ganhar, eu vou agradecer a Deus e também ao meu pai. Então ali foi um agradecimento primeiro a Deus e também falando, pai, a gente conseguiu, isso aqui é nosso, a gente agora é campeão no profissional.
He said that every time he's going to a competition, he talks to God, and not just God. He talks to his dad, and he says, like, Dad, now a little bit closer to God. So give me a hand with him. Give me an extra hand with him. And then he tries to be calm.
Put in a good word.
Yeah. Right. Yes, exactly. Put in the good word. Give me an extra hand. And he tries to be calm. And then he said that every time he wins, like the last time, he didn't win just his words. I didn't win just for myself. I won for my dad too. And every time I win, I'm going to win. And thank God and my dad.
That's beautiful, man. Wow. So honorable, man. And a lot of being a dad myself, I hope that my kids grow up and have that bond, that connection with me, even when I'm not here on this planet, where they continue to carry my legacy on like you do, Dilson. So just massive amounts of honor that you exude, and you're obviously a great child of your parents and whatnot, and they raised you right. My question for you, Dilson, is what would it take for Dilson Espindola to win the Arnold Classic? What do you need to do in order to win and beat the competition? And my follow-up question to that is, who's do you have yourself ranked number one right now, or do you have someone else in the number one slot above you for the Arnold Classic?
O que precisa pro Dilson ganhar o Arnold? E não só isso, se você tem você mesmo como o top 1 do Arnold, ou se você tem alguém que tá acima de você no top Arnold, na sua opinião.
E nesse período de campeonato, eu subi em Curitiba, fiquei em segundo lugar. Em Fortaleza, eu subi de novo, fiquei em segundo, batendo palho a palho. E em Fitipira, eu acabei perdendo, ficando em quinto lugar. Juiz de Fora, uma semana depois, a gente acabou ganhando o Edivan, né? A gente tem um carinho muito grande, eu tenho um carinho muito grande pelo Edivan, eu gosto muito do Edivan, o shape do Edivan é uma coisa que, tipo, de perto, assim, você fala assim, uau, esse é um físico Olímpia. Só que, como eu falei, ninguém é imbatível. A gente tem que ir com os melhores para a gente poder ver o que a gente tem que melhorar, ou se a gente consegue enfrentar os melhores. Então, esses 4 campeonatos foram campeonatos teste, porque foi meu primeiro ano de Procard. Então, cada dieta foi uma base de teste. Pode falar, senão vai ficar muito coisa para você falar.
He said that he went to a tournament and he got second place. Then he went to another tournament. He got second place again, and then he won, and then he lost in 5th place. And in one of these tournaments, he won against Ivan, the guy that was here last month, I think. And he's Mr. Olympia. He went to Olympia, right? And then he respects Ivan. He likes him a lot as a person and as an athlete. He said that when you look at Ivan, you think like, okay, this is an Olympia shape. This is an Olympia physique. And he said that he went head to head with the best guys here. And he said to go up there and he needs to compete as equal to these guys to see if he can beat them and or not, to see what he needs to improve to beat these guys.
E então, a gente trabalhou, né? A gente trabalhou nesses 4 campeonatos. Foram campeonatos de teste, foram campeonatos de shape, de como o meu shape responde, como ele vai responder em um campeonato, como ele vai responder em outro campeonato. Um exemplo, em Curitiba, a gente entrou com um shape muito bom, só que em Fortaleza, infelizmente, eu tive já um contratempo em Curitiba, porque foram 2 meses, né, amor? 2 meses, né, de dor de barriga. 2 meses de dor de barriga, e tipo assim, era evacuando só à noite, quando eu ia dormir, eu acordava de 2 a 3 vezes à noite para ir no banheiro. E você imagina você tentar segurar o seu shape nesse tempo, né? Então, tipo, ali eu já tava com alguma infecção dentro do meu corpo. E para Fortaleza, a gente acabou entrando um pouquinho maior, só que deu uma pequena leve dilatada no nosso abdômen, porque acabou que, tipo assim, com a infecção e a gente carbou um pouquinho mais, acabou que deu um pequeno contratempo. No Fitipira, a gente já tentou com uma outra estratégia, só que o problema de Fitipira é que foi de Fortaleza, que depois eu vou explicar de Fortaleza, o que aconteceu em Fortaleza, que eu quase fui a óbito. Fortaleza foi um campeonato muito, muito complicado. Eu pensei que fosse o meu fim. E aí a gente conseguiu ajustar para Juiz de Fora, que foi uma semana só depois. Só que a gente não conseguiu entrar com o shape que a gente queria. A gente entrou com um condicionamento muito bom, mas a gente não conseguiu entrar com o volume. E é o que a gente está fazendo agora para a gente subir no Arnold Classic, porque agora a gente sabe mais ou menos, ó, 1 dia e meio de carbo, o shape fica mais ou menos assim, 2 dias de carbo, tá? Então a gente foi lapidando, ó, isso daqui a gente fez a refeição totalmente limpa, essa daqui a gente botou uma gordura a mais, essa daqui a gente... Então a gente fez várias estratégias para a gente já pensar em campeonato internacional, que era o pensamento da gente. Só que a gente não sabia que seria o Arnold Classic, né? Ohio. Pode falar.
He mentioned 4 competitions, right? 1 second place, another second place, etc. He said that in the first competition, he brought up one shape, and then he said that all these 4 competitions were like tests for him to be here now and to go to the United States next month and go on stage. He said that him and his team were adjusting him to like this final moment. In one of these competitions, the one that he lost, not justifying, but he had a problem. He was sick in the stomach for 2 months, and he went to the bathroom straight like for 2 months. Sometimes at night he would wake up like 2-3 times to go to the bathroom, literally like just letting everything go, you know?
Wow.
And
Digestion
imagine some,
going, yeah.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't want to use bad words. If that's okay to say, like, he was pooping a lot, you know? And he said that it's difficult for him to like keep up with his shape while going through that, right? So, of course, as a result of this sickness, he got a little bit like bigger than what he was supposed to be, and then his abs were a little bit dilated too. And then he learned the way, and now he knows the path to like go on stage internationally, and that was his plan, to learn and adjust himself. But he didn't know he would go on Arnold, and now he's going there. He thought about like, okay, I'm gonna go international, but he didn't know he would go to Arnold Classic Ohio. And how he also mentioned that in one competition he almost died, but he was playing this like probably after. Joseph?
Wow.
E então, nesse Arnold Classic, a gente está optando em chegar com um volume que a gente tinha colocado, só que com o condicionamento, que é o nosso objetivo. E sobre o Arnold Classic, assim, eu respeito todos os atletas que vão subir lá, porque todos eles já foram pro Mr. Olímpia. Então a gente respeita todos os atletas, mas nós somos atletas também. Mesmo eu não tendo subido internacionalmente ainda, ou ter ido por Mr. Olímpia, nós somos atletas, nós temos que ter mentalidade de atleta. Então, quando você está se preparando, você não pode se preparar para ficar em segundo lugar. Você tem que mentalizar e se preparar para o primeiro lugar. Então, o meu foco e da minha equipe é totalmente o primeiro lugar, respeitando todos os atletas, ainda mais o Brandon, que é top 3, 3 vezes Mr. Olímpia e top 3 Olímpia agora. E, então, tipo assim, não é questão de respeito em si, e eu sou um atleta profissional. Então, quando eu me preparo para ganhar, para subir, para competir, entendeu? Amor, tem que pegar o carregador, tá?
He said that oh, sorry.
What?
I was going to say something. He said that in one competition he got the condition, but he didn't get the volume. And then now he learned the path, he learned the way to get both, right? And he said, as an athlete, he respects everybody else in that competition, especially a top 3 Mr. Olympia, 3-time champion Olympia. But he's an athlete too. He needs to set up his mind to like, okay, for the first place, and not to second place, not third place. So even though he's like going against them is his first time, his mind is like in the first place, because that's what a mind of an athlete should be at. That's his opinion on this. And he respects everybody, but his mind when he's going on stage is like, okay, I gotta get first place.
I love that mentality, man. Like that's what it takes. If you're not trying to go for the win, you know, it's like, well, why are we even stepping on stage becomes the question. That's wonderful. Who would he have winning? Just to kind of follow up that second part of the question, is there anyone that he sees whether it's, a Brandon or anyone that's out there, a Paul Gustav or anyone, that he believes that it's going to be a harder competition for him to go up against and might beat him out? Or does he feel like 100% I'm going in there, I'm going in for the win, and everybody else is coming in second place?
Ele perguntou se tem alguém desses que vão competir, se tem alguém que você acha que esse cara vai ser difícil de competir contra ou que vai talvez ganhar de mim, ou se não, a sua mente não, eu vou pela vitória, eu vou contra esses caras e eu sei que eu consigo e posso ganhar disso. Qual que é a sua opinião disso?
Então, como eu falei, eu respeito todos os atletas que vão. Nossa, vai ser um sonho pra mim. Pera aí que o cachorro tá... Amor, deixa.
His dog is there.
É porque
The dogs came inside.
aqui, daí tá aparecendo uma mensagem aqui e não tá saindo.
Mas pode falar que todo mundo te ouvindo, pode falar.
O que acontece? Aqui acabou a luz aqui, nossa, tava um calor, voltou. O que acontece? Eu vejo todos os atletas como um nível bem grande, né? Vai ser uma honra eu subir com eles, porque a maioria ali, todo mundo já subiu já. Então, você subindo com esses grandes atletas, para você é um sonho, é uma realização muito, muito grande, né? Eu nunca pensei que 2026 eu estaria competindo no Arnold Classic Ohio e final de 2025 eu estaria ganhando o Edvan e sendo classificado para o Arnold Classic Ohio. Então essa, assim, como eu falei, eu tô subindo para vencer, porque essa é a mentalidade de um atleta. Você tem que sempre subir para vencer. Se você ganhar, é consequência. Você não pode virar e falar assim, eu vou vencer. Não tem como você virar e falar que você vai vencer. Mas você vai dar os seus 100%, porque é isso que faz um atleta ser campeão. Ele chegar e ele dar tudo de si. Ele não errar nada, ele não errar uma refeição, ele não errar o cardio. Como eu falei, quando eu perdi meu pai, eu não errei na dieta por nada. A única foto que eu postei, eu não postei nada sobre meu pai. A única foto que tem sou eu com a marmita na mão, no cemitério, falando pro meu coach, o Arthur, né? Eu virei para ele e falei, cara, eu não estou saindo da dieta, eu estou em dieta, então fica tranquilo. E ele falou, cara, eu confio muito em você, eu sei que você é um cara muito focado. Então, eu sempre quando eu entro no campeonato, eu quero entrar com os melhores, porque eu tenho que ver como é que é o meu corpo do lado dos melhores. Então, eu subi do lado, por exemplo, de Brandon, do Andrei, do Vitor Chaves, que também é um baita atleta, né? O Ben, o Hunter, e todos os atletas que vão subir também, o Emanuel Costas, que também já foi ali do Arnold Classic. Isso para mim é uma grande honra, mas eu tô indo para buscar o meu primeiro lugar.
All right. Like he said, he respects everybody. He respects all of the athletes that's going to be there. And he said that most athletes already went on stage against like each other, and it's his first time. But he's an athlete, and his mentality is, I'm going to go for the first place. And he said when he sets his mind to something like to the first place, he doesn't lose focus. Like in the competition where he lost his father, he went to the cemetery, he didn't post anything. The only picture that he has is him at the cemetery, sending a picture to his coach. I'm on diet. I didn't miss my meals. I didn't make any mistakes. And his coach said, I trust you. I believe you. And that's his mind for this competition and all other competitions. He respects that. He knows that all of them are high-level athletes, but he's going for the second place. Of course, he can't predict, I'm going to win. If he wins, it's a consequence. But he's going for the first place.
Love that.
That's awesome.
Love that. I got one more question for Dilson Sanchez, and it's a few years ago. It wasn't too long ago. Dilson was asking others. He was asking his coach if he could compete professionally as a bodybuilder. Now, at this point in his life, when he looks at the mirror, when he looks at his Instagram, when he sees his physique, does he see himself as a future Mr. Olympia?
Alguns anos atrás você estava perguntando pro Lacerda, né? Cara, você acha que eu tenho condições de competir, ganhar? E agora que você tá nesse nível, ele perguntou se você vê você mesmo sendo campeão do Mr. Olympia.
The Ryan Terry generic. The winner. Não, não. Eu sou um cara que eu sempre lutei muito. A minha vida toda, eu sempre batalhei muito para chegar onde eu cheguei. E a minha vida nunca foi fácil, né? Como eu falei, eu trabalho desde os 10 anos, eu trabalhava em feira, fui camelô, já vendi água, já fui faxineiro com a minha mulher aqui em São Paulo. Isso tudo são coisas que eu olho para trás e eu falo assim: olha quanto eu já passei, olha quanto eu já vivi, olha quanto aperto eu já passei na minha vida e, e eu consegui, sabe? Tipo, eu conquistei a minha casa agora, a gente conquistou uma casa agora, e há uns 2 anos atrás, eu e minha mulher, a gente estava comendo arroz e ovo, e a gente não tinha dinheiro para o aluguel, e a gente ficava fazendo faxina para a gente conseguir sobreviver aqui em São Paulo. Então, quando eu olho a minha vida lá atrás, eu falo assim, por que não? Por que eu não posso? Se alguém conseguiu, eu também consigo, sabe? Essa é a minha mentalidade. É como eu falei, nosso esporte, eu dependo dos árbitros. Eu dependo que os árbitros olhem para mim e falem assim, esse é o campeão. Mas dependendo de mim, eu vou subir como campeão, eu vou subir como o número um, eu vou lutar sempre, sempre, sempre para chegar e buscar sempre o maior lugar no pódio, porque esse é o meu objetivo, não só o meu objetivo por Dilson, e sim um objetivo por todas as pessoas que acreditaram em mim, pela minha família, pela minha mulher que lutou bastante, né, ao meu lado, e ela acredita muito que um dia eu vou conseguir estar lá no Olímpia. Quando eu não sei, pode ser esse ano, pode ser ano que vem, pode ser daqui a 2, 3 anos, eu não sei, mas é, a luta aqui não vai nunca parar, nunca, 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 porque um sonho de um garoto que não tinha nada, você não consegue tirar, sabe? Você, esse é o mais perigoso que tem. É aquele garoto que as pessoas olhavam e falavam assim: esse garoto nunca vai ser ninguém. Eu ouvi muito isso, e de pessoas muito próximas. Esse garoto nunca vai ser ninguém. Esse garoto não sei o quê. E hoje em dia as pessoas têm que me olhar. Só que o melhor eu não preciso jogar na cara de ninguém. O mundo fala por si. E eu não tenho raiva dessas pessoas, né? Então, tipo assim, eu tenho fé que um dia eu irei chegar e irei falar lá, Gilson Espíndola, campeão do Mister Olímpia. Se Deus quiser.
All right. He said that when he looks back, he sees how much experience he's had in the past, right? How much difficult experiences he had. Him and his wife, they did cleanings in some places. He sold lots of different things, not like a rich business, like in a poor way. He went through like very hard moments in his life. And then when he looks back, he thinks, look at everything that I've been through. It's just like up now, you know? There's no down anymore. And he said that his goals, it's not just his goals, it's his wife's goals, his dad's goals too. It's all on him now. And he said that the fight is never over. He will never stop fighting. He said that his wife believes him in a lot. And he said that he doesn't know when, maybe this year, maybe next year, maybe in 2 years, he doesn't know. But one day he will say, Gilson, champion of Mr. Olympia.
That's awesome. Hey, I don't have a question, but I just want to say this, and it's more of a statement. Brother, you have such a close look to Ryan Terry. And if the judges are looking for Ryan Terry-esque like physiques, you certainly hit the nail on the head. I mean, you've brought your back up even more than when you Ed Von in that last in the last show. Your back, your lats have come out tremendously. We've seen you bring up your chest even more, especially the shelf. That's looking great. You haven't increased the size on your arms, so they continue to streamline really well. And your posing, at least from the last show, looked amazing. It looked almost flawless. So just keep doing what you're doing. You have symmetrical abs. You have a beautiful intercostal lines and striations. You have beautiful serratus. I mean, bro, you've got the men's physique look. Shoulders are coming up. We saw that also. Your shoulders are even more capped and even more striated. Like, I really believe like you and a couple of guys are really the dark horses to hit the Arnold stage and shake up the world. So just keep doing what you're doing, man. We're really proud of you, and we're going to keep covering you all throughout the year for sure. We got to get you back on here.
Ele falou que essa comparação sua com o Ryan Terry, que você realmente, principalmente depois da competição com o Ivan, você trouxe suas dorsais bem, suas costas, os ombros, dá pra ver que melhorou. E ele falou que você tem a aparência do Men's Physique, que só continua fazendo o que você tá fazendo, que tem você e talvez mais uns dois que realmente são os top ali do Men's Physique, que continuam fazendo o seu trabalho.
Oh, muito obrigado. E eu fico muito feliz de ouvir isso, né? De vocês que representam bastante a nossa categoria e o quanto vocês estão crescendo também, né? Com todos esses...
He said that he's incredibly honored to be here, to be part of this podcast today. He said that he would watch you guys and think, will I ever be there? And now he's here and he's like very honored to be here. And he thought like, okay, will I ever be there? And now that he's here, he's like, this is serious. I'm here. And he's very happy. Yeah. And he's very happy, especially because you guys are growing, his words, you guys are growing a lot, like bringing some very important athletes to your podcast, to your lives. And he said that this comparison with Ryan Terry is good for him. And I mean, to summarize everything, he's like incredibly happy to be here with you guys and also going international. One more thing. He said that this is his first international show.
Oh, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah.
What an absolute pleasure to be the first international podcast that he's ever been on. But yeah, it's been an incredible journey for Dilson. I mean, you know, we need to remember that he's only been a pro for less than 12 months. And for him to be able to do what he's been able to do in the last 12 months is absolutely incredible. Like we mentioned, you know, obviously got an invitation to the Arnold Classic. We saw him defeat a 3-time 5th place Olympian in Ivan Palmera. So this guy's done some incredible stuff over the last 12 months. And just to piggyback off what Aleem said earlier, like this guy's got a massive future in the sport. We've spoken to a couple of guys about where they think they see Dilson placing at the Arnold, and a lot of big names have Dilson placing very, very high up on those ranks, being the dark horse, being the underdog, being someone who may shock a lot of people around the world. And we, you know, myself, Hart and Aleem, we truly believe the exact same thing, and we're looking forward to seeing Dilson's career continue to unfold even past the Arnold Classic in a couple of weeks' time. But guys, I'm gonna wrap this one here because we know it's probably getting a little bit late where you are. But on behalf of myself, Hart, and Aleem, we want to thank both you and Dilson for being on the show today. And we definitely look forward to seeing what Dilson is able to do within the 2026 season. We want to see him. We know that we will see him on the Olympia stage later on this year. And we, like I said, we're going to be following his journey throughout the season to see how he goes. And we'll be talking a lot more about him. And also, thank you for the kind words, Dilson. I mean, myself, Hart, and Aleem, we're trying to do the best that we can to showcase the sport, highlight the division, and even more so highlight athletes, whether you're a top 10 Olympian, whether you're an Olympian or you're someone coming up the ranks like yourself, bro. So thank you so much for the kind words. Thank you again for being on today's show. And guys, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, like the video as well, and make sure to follow both Dilson and Sanchez on Instagram. We'll put their handles in the description below, so make sure to check them out as well. But guys, thank you again, and we'll talk to you boys soon.
Love it. Peace.
I know, Jules.